How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with Jim Valley, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern, Sundays with Andrew Zarian. And it's Fun Friday here on the show. Yes, it is. Fun Friday, Wrestling Observer Live. And the fun we will have today involves old Lance Storm, who's going to be joining us as a co-host in the next segment. Mike Sempervive off today. Lance and I got a lot to talk about. A very busy WrestleMania weekend. A TNA app exclusive, which I went to, in fact. And there's also a TNA pay-per-view coming up on Sunday. And I was alerted this morning by the crew that, in fact, we will be watching and reviewing the TNA pay-per-view on the Bryan and Vinny show coming up here on Sunday. So, yes, 2 straight weekends of TNA coverage, and Lance will be here to talk about it. We've also got all of the news. We got shows coming up this weekend, including SmackDown and Collision. We have got a lot of notes on the financial success of WrestleMania, Dynamite, and NXT ratings. We have got Beach Break, which originally was scheduled to be a 4-hour block. Now it looks to be broken up over 2 nights. And so we will tell you about that and plenty more. If you want to text us today, questions for Lance, 425-780-7566. That is 425-780-7566. F4WOnline@gmail.com. F4W Online, Threads, Instagram, and Cameo. I believe my next cameo will be my 500th straight cameo without missing one. So who's it going to be? F4W Online on Cameo. At Bryan Alvarez, X and Blue Sky. Back in a moment with more Observer Live. No, not Mike Sempervive. Lance Storm joining us here
upgrade.
today.
Fun Friday.
Yeah, Lance Storm is here for Fun Friday, everybody. What a fun time we had over Mania weekend, Lance. We got to go to Denny's.
And a steakhouse of some kind.
Yeah, I forget what that place was called. I don't think it was a steakhouse. It was like one of those bars, but I did get a big steak.
Got a big old steak.
Big bone-in ribeye. It was awesome. But I should mention, by the way, that this is a historic day, as this is the final time that we will be doing this show via Skype, because after all these years, and think about how many other people did all of their podcasts over the years utilizing Skype. Skype is dead as of May. It's all over. Skype is gone. Can you believe
It's been around
that?
a long time.
A long time. So, I guess you can use, what are we going to use next? What did we use at one time? That
I think Google Hangouts or something?
Google Hangouts or something like that? Whatever it is. But anyway, this is it. The last Skype conversation with Lance ever today. Well, what'd you think of Mania weekend? Did you have fun?
I wasn't there for the weekend. I was in and out. And I like Vegas a lot because it's a short direct flight for me. I got in Wednesday night and hooked up with you, and then did Unbreakable on Thursday. Hooked up with you and Vinny. And then I was gone early in the morning. And I leave tomorrow night for L.A. for Rebellion. So I'm doing quick in and out direct flight. So I'm a happy man.
Yeah, we went to the Unbreakable show, Vinny and I, and did a review on the Bryan and Vinny show. If you're a subscriber, you can go up and listen to it. And it was a very, very good show, although it should have ended with that hardcore match, Lance, because that match ended and people were out of there. And I actually don't know why they were out of there, because they really enjoyed the hardcore match. I mean, it wasn't like they walked out in the middle of the match. So I don't know if they thought the show was over or it was just late, but they were out of here.
I think there is a chance that people thought it was the end, because it was such a dramatic big match that I think it felt like it was a main event. And often the barbed wire massacre, violent matches like that are often the lights out at the end of the show match. And with the main being the three-way with two guys that had already wrestled on the show, I think they felt like they saw everything. This felt like a main event. It was getting late, and there's 6,000 other shows. I think there's a good chance a lot of them just forgot there was one more match, and that was a big enough climax to the show that they were happy.
Well, you know, when you have a show like that, and the main event was crowning a new international champion, so it was a new belt, first champion, history. You know, if you look at how things traditionally would be booked, like you go way back, it's like, all right, well, there's a title match for a new belt. Like maybe that should go on as the main event. But I think that it's one thing to learn from history, but you also have to realize that like things change as life goes on. And, you know, I was thinking about that argument. Well, maybe the title match should go on last, because AEW does the same thing. The world titles almost always last. And if there is some hardcore match that, like, you know, they'll call it a lights out match or something so it could go on last. It's tradition to put the title match on last. But I was thinking about nowadays, and this is not a TNA thing. It's not even an AEW or a WWE thing or a New Japan thing. It's an everybody thing. There's too many belts. And so to me, it's like, yes, it was crowning a new champion. It was a new belt. But like, it wasn't bigger than that match, that hardcore match. It wasn't. It couldn't be. I mean, if it were for like the vacant TNA World Heavyweight, like the top belt in the promotion, then it's like, all right, you know, I can argue that one. But like, you know, any other belt, there's just too many of them. There's just too many belts for it to be that special to go after a match like that. I think. It's my argument. Tommy, you listening? And then
I'll pass that on.
Yeah, pass that on to that guy.
With the benefit of hindsight, Bryan disagreed.
Yes, I would have actually disagreed going in, to be honest.
Well, I think the logic is by putting that new championship last, you're trying to give it some importance and some significance. And if you do just put it in the middle of the show, and also, it hurts that. And also, too, EY and Macklin were working twice on the show. So if you move that match up, their matches start getting close together and creates other problems. Decisions like this are often tough, and I could see the logic behind either way.
Hey, listen, I'll give old Dreamer the old compliment sandwich here. I didn't think was he the guy that did the lineup, or who did that? I presume it's him.
He would have say. I have no idea who's the person that finalizes.
I'll throw him under the bus anyway because I'm going to put him over.
It wasn't me.
Dreamer, wrong pick for the main event. Now, with that said, I'd bet dollars to donuts that he was the agent for that hardcore match. At least, I hope so. I hope they didn't give it to you. But, I mentioned this on the Brian Vinny show. I always say I hate those kinds of matches, but, like, every time I review one, like 90% of the time, I always say, God, I just hate these matches, but this one was, like, really good. So I'm now starting to think maybe I actually like these kinds of matches. And, like, I'm wrong because I thought this match was awesome. I say it every time. I don't like all the blood and violence and gore, but man, oh man, if Tommy's the guy that came up with the idea for that lemon, this guy is a genius because they're doing every crazy spot in the book. There's barbed wire. There's, like, the very first thing they did was go into barbed wire. Like, seconds into the match, they were already in the barbed wire. There was no build to these spots. It was just like, we're going right in that barbed wire. And at the beginning, I was kind of thinking, we're kind of like jumping into business pretty quick here, right? How are we gonna make this thing like dramatic over a long period of time? So they were killing each other and doing all this, and there's blood everywhere, and this puncture wound in the arm, and then the lemon got pulled out, and man, when he cut that lemon open and squeezed the juice of a lemon, he was attacking him with a fruit. A fruit.
Citric acid. Dude,
these fans screamed in horror. I'm not talking like, you do a pop or whatever. You see someone go to the bar, we're like, oh, man, whatever. It was like they were on a roller coaster. I've never seen anything like this. They screamed in horror. Like it was the most terrible thing they'd ever seen before their eyes. And I was like, this match is a winner. This match is a winner. So yeah, I thought it was awesome. And people stayed for the whole thing. It wasn't like it drove people off. It was like they stayed from beginning to end. That bell rang, and then they were all out of there. Because I think they all figured like nothing's following this match. And
I think the key to I don't like these matches, but then you enjoy them. It's like any kind of wrestling match. You can do them well, or you can do them crappy. And there's a lot of crappy, hardcore garbage matches. But when you do one well, they can be excellent. I used to think that with FMW when Atsushi Onita would do crazy. He'd have some barbed wire matches with guys that were dreadful. And it's like, okay, you're just gigging to get reactions. And then you see the barbed wire match with Terry Funk that he had. And it's like, this is an incredible match. Because if you're a smart person, you can have gory matches be great. And if you're, with any kind of match, you can have what's I'm looking for, just a technical wrestling match that's boring as crap. But if you have good people doing a technical wrestling match, it can be awesome. I think you saw, Zack Sabre and Jonathan Gresham. It's like, I bet you that would be a great technical wrestling match. But
yes, it was.
Do you remember the Big Show Kane technical wrestling match?
Yes, I do, actually.
That, not so good.
It wasn't great, but I remember it. All right, back in a moment with more Observer Live. Hey, why don't y'all go up right now to my Twitter at Bryan Alvarez and vote for me in this podcast tournament. If I lose, it's because of you fans, and you're never going to hear the end of it. Haven't we heard enough of that from John Cena? You don't need to hear it from me. So go up there and vote at Bryan Alvarez. Don't disgrace this business. Now, Rebellion is taking place Sunday. We're talking a lot about TNA today, Lance, because Vinny and I were figuring out what to review this weekend, and we said, Craig's probably not going to be able to. And then Craig texts this morning and goes, you know what? I'm welcome to a change of pace. So, in fact, we will be reviewing Rebellion Sunday. Joe Hendry, Frankie Kazarian, Ethan Page, and a triple threat for the TNA title. Masha Slamovich against Tessa Blanchard for the TNA Knockouts title. X Division with Moose, Vikingo, Matt Cardona, Casey Navarro, Leon Slater, and Sidney Akeem.
Ultimate X.
Which, by the way, I think I'm pretty sure that... I know that next Wednesday on the show, Michael Oku is going to be on the show. And I think he had like 6 matches over Mania weekend and then flew back and immediately had a match, I believe, with Leon Slater. And apparently that match was freaking incredible. So we're going to talk about that with him next week and his WrestleMania weekend.
I think the
excitement.
Masha Slamovich match at Unbreakable was her 4th of 5 that day.
Really?
Yeah.
Good God. Steve Macklin, Eric Young for the international title. That was set up on the show I saw. Hardys versus the Nemeths for the tag team titles. We've got the Knockouts tag team titles. Ash by Elegance and Heather by Elegance versus Jody Threat and Danny Luna, Lash Legend and Jakara, Gigi, and Tatum in a 4-way. Mustafa Ali versus Mike Santana, Falls Count Anywhere. Elijah will face a mystery opponent. I got heat with that guy. The Rascals versus The System. And on the pre-show, Fatal Influence.
And also, too, I saw online X-Pac is going to be in the Rascals and
he will be there with the
Ace
Rascals.
Austin's corner.
The Rascals and Ace Austin versus Brian Myers, JDC, and Eddie Edwards. So, yes, he'll be there to take on Alicia Edwards, apparently. And Fallon, JC, and Jasmine versus Lei Ying Lee, Rosemary, and Zaya Brookside. What's your take on your champion getting beaten at WrestleMania, Lance?
I think in today's day and age...
Wind him up, everybody.
A TNA star actually being on WrestleMania and acknowledged by it, regardless of the finish, is a positive. I didn't see the match, so I can't comment on, how good, bad, or otherwise the match was, but I know Daniel Bryan, I guess at the time, got squashed much quicker at a WrestleMania. It seemed to be fine with him. It's an era where if fans like somebody, and fans like Joe, they pop and are excited for him having his WrestleMania moment, and if they think he was buried, they think WWE did him dirty and he deserved better. And in that regard, it's not oh man, he lost, I guess he's not as good as we thought. I think fans view it differently today. Dude's got WrestleMania merch. He's got a Topps trading card now. I suspect when we get to LA and Joe Henry's music hits, the crowd is going to sing along and be really happy still.
Well, they sang along. They were really happy when he showed up on NXT.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think he's going to be all right. I guess we'll find out. If there's 0 tickets out for that show Sunday, we'll know.
I'd like to think there's more out than 0.
No, there's a problem. Beach Break was originally going to do a 4-hour show. First noted by Post Wrestling after consulting both the latest TBS updated listings and AEW officials, the May 14th Dynamite will be in its usual spot with Collision being taped afterwards for air in its usual time slot on Saturday. So they're going to tape 2 nights at the Now Arena. It was apparently, I guess, Excalibur referenced a 4-hour block of live programming for Beach Break, which many took to mean just that, considering they have 2 4-hour live specials on the docket for June, Fyter Fest and Summer Blockbuster. So instead, this will be just,
So if you buy
4
a
hours
ticket,
is a long time, dude.
If you buy a ticket, you will get to see a 4-hour live show.
But it's not going to be 4 hours live on TV.
Correct.
Which apparently will be in June. Fyter Fest and Summer Blockbuster. I don't know about that, man. A 4-hour television show? I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it does. Because that would be 8 to midnight. And usually things start to fall off after 10 o'clock, so I don't know. That's the plan. But there you go. We have some notes on the ratings. Dynamite, 521,000, down 17%, and a .14, also down 17%. And due to the NHL, the show did air live on the West Coast, and it will most weeks. It's going head-to-head with the NBA and NHL playoffs. So it had competition and aired live on the West Coast. And I know some people have said that's the only reason it didn't do well. But they have gone live on the West Coast before. They have had strong competition before. And this was the least watched show of the year. Second lowest number they've ever done on a Wednesday night. And like I said, I mean, I thought the show was good. I liked the show. But it was just, I mean,
you called it.
It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and big shows. Not just like, there's a million shows every week, but one of the biggest SmackDowns of the year. It was the most watched. You had 2 nights of WrestleMania, 5 hours, 4 hours each night. You had the Raw after WrestleMania, which was a great show. And you guys could see NXT did actually pretty well in the ratings, but man, that crowd was dead tired. NXT did 686, up 3% and a .17, up 21%. It was actually the highest the show has done since February 25th. But It really wasn't all that great a show, and it was because of the just the atmosphere. I mean, they had 1,800 people in there. They were exhausted. It was dark. I mean, I went to Sabu's retirement show, and they had more people there in a much cooler looking building, and it was just they were tired, and the show wasn't all that great, and that was that. All right, WrestleMania. We got some news. They announced $4.2 million in tax credits for holding the week in Las Vegas. They are on top of the $5 million they received from the Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority for bringing WrestleMania to the city. And so that's $9.2 million between what they were paid and their tax credits. So WWE estimated it would pay $2.6 million in wages to Nevada residents, $17 million to out-of-state talent. Both amounts, as well as $5.3 million in-state spending on things like hotels and catering, considered qualified expenses for determining the amount of film tax credits the company is eligible to receive. Film tax credits. So the production budget for the show was $33.7 million. That's how much it cost to run WrestleMania. $2.4 million for Nevada stagehands, $2.7 million for non-resident below-the-line labor, $17 million for non-resident above-the-line talent. That's wrestlers, executives, etc. $5.3 million Nevada expenditures, $8.6 million non-Nevada expenditures, and $260,000 for Nevada security workers. And they are not announcing how much revenue they brought in, but it was the most financially successful event in company history. Well, we know they brought in at least $40 million on the gate. So that right there, they made, significantly more than they spent. And that is not counting merch. They sold a lot of merch. And do you know who they made $40 off of at that show, actually? Me.
What'd you buy?
Well, so I knew that, they were getting ready. They just finished a match, and so I was like, I'm going to take a walk. So I knew it was going to be forever between the semi-main and the main. So I start walking around and, just getting my steps in. And all of a sudden, Steve Austin's music hits. And these grown men and women, there's this long, all these bathroom lines are really long. Dude, people start sprinting. I'm talking full speed, sprinting to their seats. All of a sudden, within 30 seconds of that music hitting, there's no lines for anything. There's no lines for the bathroom. Everybody's ran back to their seats. And there's, I swear to God, nobody in the merch line. Not even 3 people. There's nobody there. So I never buy merch, but I was like, God, there's nobody here. I'm going to go see what they've got. So I walk over and I look at all the stuff, and it's like, nah, I don't want that Miz shirt or whatever. But they had a white Penta shirt. It's like a white shirt with his mask, and there's blood on it or whatever. And I was like, that's actually kind of a cool shirt. So I bought it because there was no one in line. And then I wore it. I think it was Monday, and it was really weird. I got so many people on Monday hey man, that shirt's awesome. All through the airport and everywhere. Everyone just thought this was the coolest shirt they'd ever seen. So the new Penta shirt, everybody, pretty sweet. But yeah, they made a lot of money over WrestleMania weekend.
So you bought a Penta shirt rather than watching Steve Austin crash into the boards?
Yeah, I didn't see Austin crash into the boards. I was like, I've been there, done that. I've seen this guy before. Nothing against the guy or anything, but anyway, back in a moment with more Observer Live. Back on the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Lance Storm is joining us for Fun Friday. And the phone lines are open, 618-762-3275. That is 618-762-3275. You can also use the international web browser line, collinstudio.com/show/WOL. That is collinstudio.com/show/WOL. And you can always text me, 425-780-7566. So get your questions in, everybody. Live Q&A with Lance. And let's actually go to the phones right now. You're on the air. Who is this, and where are you calling from?
This is Philip Sandman from Simi Valley, California.
Hello, Philip. This is actually my main man, Philip, is who it is.
Yes. Just wanted to say I had a great time last week going to the F4W convention and meeting everybody and doing the Q&A. But I think during the Q&A, I had a question, and I don't think you were able to come up with the answer during that time. So I was wondering if I could ask it again on the show and see if you were able to come up with one.
Okay.
If you... I think I asked.
Oh, I know
like,
the question, and it's going to drive me nuts, but go ahead.
It was, what was something of a match you saw on paper, or a feud you saw on paper, and thought it would be great, and then the first week the angle was good, but then by the time you got to the blow-off, you weren't so much more into it, and what was one of the opposite, where you thought it was a bad match on paper, but then as it got going, it became great, and the blow-off became better than how it started.
All right. Well, Philip, I want to thank you not only for the call, but for everything over the weekend. I sat with Philip both nights, and we had a great time, so thanks again for that.
You're welcome. Anytime.
All right. So what I need is, someone to, refresh my memory about some of these, because I know they have happened. And you know what's funny is he asked this question on Q&A was Friday. All my dates are all messed up. So he asked this question on Friday, and I was like, I know there's got to be thousands of them, but I couldn't think of any. And ironically, I will not say that I thought that John Cena and Cody Rhodes was going to be a great match, okay? But I did not expect it to be one of the worst main events ever in the history of WrestleMania. That match was so bad. It was like, in the ring it was bad, the booking was bad, the finish was bad, like everything about it was bad. When I heard Cena and Cody at Mania, it was kind of like, okay, well, that's a big match, especially if they have the going for the 16th or the 17th title or whatever he's on. I was like, man, lasting. What do you mean it was top 5? Top 5 best? Are you kidding me? God, he better be kidding. But anyway, it was terrible. Terrible in execution. Like John Cena. And the thing with John Cena is I don't know if people remember this or not, but like, dude, this guy hasn't had a real match in a long time. I mean, he made those comebacks and it was like, come back, announce a tag match, stand on the apron the entire match, hot tag with 3 moves, hit a finish. Like, he hasn't had a real match in forever. And this was a real match. It had to be a long match. It was the main event of WrestleMania. And, man, he's just... And there's no house shows to get back in shape. Like, even he said it. He goes, this is not matches. I got 28 dates left. It's like, oh, my God. Oh, my Lord. So there you go.
To chime in, a feud that I wouldn't have thought I would care about and ended up really liking, I never liked Strikeforce. And when Strikeforce broke up, I couldn't think of a match I'd like to watch less. But Tito and Rick Martel had some darn good matches, a couple of them on Saturday night's main event, and the breakup Tito versus the model Rick Martel were some incredible matches for a feud that I started out not caring about.
Yeah, and it's weird because, like, I know this happens all the time. I just can't remember them off the top of my head, but it's not really a match. But when they first started this thing with MJF and the Hurt Business, I was like, what is going on here? Like, it was just weird. And MJF's supposed to be a heel, but the people are cheering him, and the Hurt Business are supposed to be heels, and they're getting cheered, and it's built around a thumbs up. But, man, I watched that segment on Wednesday, and I was like, I actually love this now. And, Ridge Holland, when they brought Ridge Holland down to NXT, and they're just having him do stuff, this guy brings that one up, and it's like nobody cared about Ridge Holland at all. I mean, it was just they were dead for this guy. And, they kept trying and it wasn't working. But then all of a sudden, one day, it clicked. And, by the time they hit the peak, it was like, this is great. This guy is the top heel in this entire promotion right now. And it was like, they totally turned that thing around. So that's an example.
Another program that everyone was jacked for that just died and was a death was the Wardlow turn on MJF. That was built up. Everyone was excited about it. And boy, did that die a death.
Bad payoff right there. All right, let's go to the phones. You are on the air. Who is this? And where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Don the Don Rossberger calling from over here on this side of the state where Rad Ford is, as opposed to Portsmouth. Anyways, I was calling in because, we've been talking Rock, we've been talking Triple H, we've been talking Cody and all this stuff. But, the best match of last weekend, you could have thought it was going to be Minoru Suzuki versus Butterbean, but that was just an awful
That was
trainer.
not the best match.
But the next night, no, it wasn't the best match at all. But the next night, Minoru Suzuki went up against Yoshihiko. And let me tell you, that man could wrestle a match with a doll, and it would be exciting. And Yoshihiko just brought it, and it was bleeding, and
there was juice.
It was great. It was great.
Well,
people need to talk about it more.
I got to say this, Don the Don. I want to thank you for the call, and I did review that match. And a lot of people got really mad at me because I referred to Yoshihiko as a blow-up doll, including Missy Hyatt was really mad at me for referring to Yoshihiko as a blow-up doll. But as I tried to explain to everybody, there's a reason that I referred to Yoshihiko as a blow-up sex doll, okay? There's a reason that I did that. And it was because if I just say Yoshihiko, okay, there are going to be people that hear it and they're like, oh, wow, Minoru Suzuki had a good match with, like, a wrestler or whatever. And I'm not saying Yoshihiko is not a wrestler. But the point is, you have to understand that it's a blow-up doll to understand how amazing this match was. Yes, the doll's name is Yoshihiko. And Yoshihiko's had other great matches. But you guys need to know that with a doll, a non-living rubber doll, Suzuki had a better match than he had with Butterbean, who was living. So, yes, I will put respect on Yoshihiko's name. I'm sorry for everybody
Yoshihiko
that
took
was
more bumps.
very angry. Sure did. All right, to the phones. You're on the air. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Kyle from Winnipeg.
Yes, Kyle. What's up?
Okay, so I got a weird question, but do you think that Rocky Romero turning heel has anything in connection with The Rock and New Japan shirt and Rubik's Cube?
I want to thank you very much for the call. Dude, I don't know what's going on with The Rock. Like, I don't think Rocky turning heel has anything to do with that. I don't know, man. I mean, they just acquired AAA. I don't think they're acquiring New Japan. I do know that Jeff Cobb will be there at some point, but the impression I was given was that it's not necessarily like imminent. I mean, he could be on SmackDown tomorrow for all I know, but the idea that, he didn't drop the titles and so that meant he was coming in immediately, I was told that's not the case. He's going to be in when he's in. It might be soon, it might be later. But, I figured it had something to do with Jeff Cobb. But now that The Rock's done this whole thing and he's like out, I don't know. I don't know what this guy's doing, dude. He just goes into business for himself. He does whatever he wants that he's allowed to do.
He gets people talking. It doesn't even necessarily have to mean anything.
Yeah, but he doesn't always get people talking in, like, the best way. I mean,
No.
Everyone's, like, really mad. And now, like, people are talking about Rock and Hunter and all these... Look, I don't know if they have problems, guys. I know people want to think they have problems. I know they want to believe that there are issues with Rock and Triple H. And I'm sure that, at least to some degree... Listen, I'll put it this way. If I was Triple H and I was the booker and I booked things out in advance and I had all my storylines and Rock would show up here and there and say, we're doing this today, I wouldn't like it, okay? Does it mean I'm going to hate the guy? I mean, does it mean like we're feuding? I mean, I don't think so. I just wouldn't like it, And everyone dealt with this with Vince on a much, much worse scale. At least Rock only shows up like every 3 to 6 months. Vince would do this every Monday. So, I'm sure there's probably a degree of PTSD that Hunter's experiencing when Rock shows up and just changes everything. But, I mean, the idea that, like, they've got this deep grudge and, they're real... I mean, maybe there are. But I think it's just more Rock wants to do stuff and he's The Rock. And, when he shows up, it's going to do good business. So how mad can you get? It's not like some nerd shows up and kills the ratings and he screws everything up. So, I don't know.
I would be willing to bet their text message thread is way more amicable than yours and mine.
Probably. Yeah,
and we get along just fine.
What's funny is like there's certain wrestlers that people don't like, and sometimes I'll like stuff that they do or whatever, and I'll put something over, and I'll always hear Bryan and so must be tight, and I always think, realistically, the people that I bury are far more likely to be my friends. I mean, isn't that how it works? I get the worst text messages from you.
Yes.
And Tom.
It's the same when you work someone you like, you tend to be stiffer. And when you work someone you don't like, you're more careful.
Actually, the people that stiffed me, I didn't like. It was totally different. Like, Vinny, if you touch me, I will never get in the ring with you again. Actually, it was always... You know what it was? It was Craig. He had those ham hock fists. God,
I'm sure you deserved it.
I didn't deserve it. That's the problem. What else have you been watching over the last week?
I watch Impact as a general. Actually, I'm currently completely off wrestling. I'm in just ramping up the last season of Bosch Legacy. It's quite good.
So you didn't watch any Mania? No Raw? No nothing?
As I've said before, I'm an all or nothing guy, and there's just no way I can watch 10 hours of a show in a weekend. I have a family and dogs and things. I'm all or nothing, and I just can't do that volume. If Mania was just one day, I'd do it, but I can't give up a whole weekend. My wife works full time, and our weekends are our time together. I can't give them both up.
Back in a moment with more Observer Live. Going through the roster, and I'm trying to find other examples of, oh man, I thought this was going to be great, and it just kind of was nothing. And I know there's great examples. I just can't think of any. But I mean, for WrestleMania, another one was, whatever you think about Logan Paul, I was like, oh man, Logan Paul and AJ Styles, that match is going to be incredible. And it was fine. And the people weren't that into it. So that one underdelivered quite a bit. And I don't know. I'm sure there's many others. But it's a good question by Philip. I'll try to keep thinking.
On second viewing, you sure loved the Mongo matches when we rewatched Nitro.
I did. He was just a fun guy. You know what I mean? It was like there were a lot of guys that like I wasn't into at the time, but looking back, you kind of look at things a little bit differently. And yeah, I liked Mongo. I didn't have a problem with him.
Mongo tried, and he had fun.
He tried really hard.
Yep.
And he was like a great athlete in the sense that obviously he was a great football player, but that did not translate to pro wrestling. He took the silliest bumps, but man, he gave it his all. And I always liked Mongo on commentary. You know, people buried Mongo on commentary, but like he was fun, and I never had a problem with him. Of course, I don't really, you know, some people really care about commentary a lot more than I do. As long as it's not horrific, you know, just entertain me. And Mongo always entertained me, so. All right, we got to wrap it up, everybody. It was a fun Friday. Lance, this coming Sunday, TNA on pay-per-view, correct?
Rebellion in Los Angeles, yep.
Rebellion in Los Angeles. We'll be reviewing that on the Bryan Alvarez Show for subscribers. F4WOnline.com/new. Sign up today for half off. That's F4WOnline.com/new or Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. F4WOnline.com/Apple, F4WOnline.com/Spotify, F4WOnline.com/YouTube. Join the fun, everybody. That's it. We'll talk to you next time. Wrestling Observer Live.